In today's video, I am going to show you how to crochet a double-stranded six-sided shape. These come out really cute if you're double stranding, especially with the Cotton Collage by Premier. It's kind of a nice variegated color, and it's a one weight. They come in a variety of different colors, and by holding two strands together, for these I've held the same colorways together for each set, you get very unique and different color variations. I like to make these into coasters, but because they are six-sided, you can always join them together into a blanket, a scarf, or whatever project that you'd like. I have three different colorways. This first one that I showed you is the Sunshine Multi colorway. We've got some nice pinks, greens, blues. This one here is called Circus Multi. And again, you get a really nice variation as you're working through this yarn with two strands held together. And finally, we've got this colorway, and this one is called Party Multi. If I hold it up a little bit closer, you can see it's a very thin one weight, but it has a nice, almost variegated type look to it without being too color blocking. So that's what we're going to work on today. For this project, you can use any size hook and any yarn that you want. I'm going to show you how to do these holding the two strands together. So if you're using a fine weight yarn, I hold two strands of the one weight yarn together along with a 4.5mm crochet hook. You can also hold two 4 weights together with a larger hook, or even bulk this up a little bit and use a 5 or 6 weight yarn to create a nice chunky six-sided shape. You're going to want to try and pull from the center of your ball of yarn if possible, just because it'll be easier to work those two strands together and pull nicely from the middle. I've got my two strands held together. There's the two ends. I'm going to start with a magic ring. You can start with a chain 3 or 4 and slip stitch into that first chain to create your ring. We're going to start with a chain of 5. And this chain 5 counts as a double crochet chain 2. Right back into the ring, we're going to double crochet 3 times. You want to make sure you're working with both strands of yarn. Sometimes one of those strands can come out on you as you're working, so just making sure that you're picking up both strands. We're going to chain 2 and work 3 more double crochets into that ring. You want a total of 5 sets of these 3 double crochets, and then we will join up here. We need to work 2 more double crochets before we join. I'm going to go ahead and work 3 more sets of my double crochets separated by a chain 2. Once you have your 5 sets of 3, so just ignore that chain 5 that we did to start. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 3 separated by a chain 2. We need to have a total of 6 of those. This chain 5, those first 3 chains, counts as our last double crochet of this last set of 3. So I'm going to go ahead, chain 2, work 2 double crochets into the ring, pull this first chain 5 over, those 2 at the top, those 2 chains, count as the chain 2 separator between all of our 3 double crochet sets. So you're going to want to find the 3rd chain approximately from the bottom and just slip stitch. And now we've got our 6-sided round 1. I'm going to go ahead and pull my center ring closed, pull out some more yarn so it's easier to work with. Round 2 is essentially the entire pattern repeat. In each chain 2 space, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and into each stitch across. So for the first round, we have those 3 double crochets. We're going to work a double crochet over top of each of those 3. So to start, we need to be in that center ring. So after we've slip stitched to the 3rd chain from our first chain 5, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch right into that first chain 2 space, and that will get us started for round 2. You want to chain 5. Every round starts with a chain 5. This chain 5 counts as a double crochet, chain 2, and right back into that same chain 2 space, we're going to go ahead and work a double crochet. Into each stitch across, so we've got 3 for this first round. We're just going to work a double crochet into each of those 3 stitches. We're now at our next chain 2 space. We're going to work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all into that same chain 2 space. So you work your double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet right back into that same space. And these chain 2 spaces that we're doing are the corners for each of our sides. Again, we have 3 stitches. You work a double crochet into each of those 3. When you get to the chain 2 space, you work a double crochet into that space, chain 2, and double crochet right back into that space. And that's how you work all the way around. So for the first round, we had 3 double crochets for each side. In this second round, we're adding 2 double crochets on each side because we have our double crochet in the chain 2 space that then becomes a stitch along the side, and then we end with a double crochet in the chain 2 space on this side. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets on each side. We're going to do this again, a double crochet over the next 3, and every time you hit a chain 2 space, you work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space. So continue working around, and I will meet you at the end of round number 2. When you get back around, I've worked into that last chain 2 space and then a double crochet over the last 3. We're back where we started with that chain 5. We do the same thing we did in round 1. You work into the 3rd chain from the bottom and just slip stitch into that stitch to join, and that chain 5, the first 3 chains of that first chain 5 that we did, counts as the last double crochet of the round. To start another round, you want to slip stitch into that chain 2 space And we do the same thing. We start with a chain 5 and a double crochet right back into the chain 2 space. For round 3, we're going to add 2 more double crochets on each side. We have 5 stitches to work over, whereas the previous round we only had those 3. Now we have 5. After this round we'll have 7, and if you keep working you'll increase the number of stitches you have on each side by 2. So just go ahead and work a double crochet over each of those double crochets from the previous round, and every time you get to the chain 2 space you're going to work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet for those corners. Make sure you're always holding those 2 strands together. Start another side, work a double crochet into the top of each stitch. And for the corner, a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. I'm going to keep working my last few sides and I will meet you back at the end of round number 3. At the end of this round we're just going to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch from our chain 5, and make sure you're going through the whole stitch and not just one strand of yarn. And that is the end of round 3. If you're going to continue, as I did for my shapes, I worked a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. You can continue working for as many rounds as you want. You may sort of get a little bit of bunching. Once you fasten off, weave in your ends, kind of flatten and stretch out your project, it may flatten out on its own. I like to set these under some heavy books or something overnight and just kind of try to shape them that way. If they're still being stubborn, depending on the type of yarn you're using, you can always give this a gentle blocking, spray it a little bit, pin it down, leave it for a few hours or overnight, and then come back and see if that has helped sort of flatten these out. So if you're going to continue doing rounds, you're going to always start with a slip stitch into that first chain 2 space, then chain 5, and work a double crochet right back into that first space, and then work across all of your stitches. When you get to the next chain 2 space, you work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and that is the pattern. So all you want to do is just repeat this for any number of rounds, for as large as you want your 6-sided shape to be. For me, I am making these into coasters, a nice spring summer coaster. But again, they're useful for so many different things. They're 6-sided, so you can easily join them together to create a much larger project. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know down below if you decide to make these double-stranded cotton coasters yourself. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.